everyone, and welcome back to Bucharest. So in today's video I wanted to see how much we could do for just one day in Bucharest. So standing right behind me now is the St. Anthony's Church, so let's go in and see. The St. Anthony Church is said to be the oldest religious building in Bucharest. It has been maintained in its original form, and it's always pleasing to see buildings that have endured such a remarkable history so that we may enjoy them today. One thing that really stood out to me was, despite this church being a tourist attraction, you can still see the locals visiting to say their prayers. I also really enjoyed looking at the fresco-styled paintings on the walls and ceiling. They used much darker hues in their paintings, which were quite interesting to see. So Bucharest actually dates back all the way to 1459, when it was used as a stopping point during the trading route. So seeing as it was such a popular stopover back in the day, there were many inns across Bucharest town. And this is Manuc's Inn, which is actually the oldest operating hotel building in all of Bucharest. So Manuc's Inn is actually a restaurant, and it's the perfect stop if you want to try some real traditional Romanian food. And on most nights they also have live music here. Wow, you guys are cute. So just a bit of background information about Romania. It's been under many rulers, so it's been under the Ottoman Empire, Russian territory, and more recently it's been occupied by Germany. During the communist period, many buildings were torn down here in Bucharest, so that means that what you see today is only 20% of what used to make up the city centre. So during this time, 7 churches were moved to make room for newer and more modern buildings, moving St. John's Church over here in between these 2 buildings. Although the old town here in Bucharest is small compared to other places in Europe, I think it's really interesting because it holds a lot of history and architecture. So this is the Petrous Monastery, and it was built by a Greek monk. And what's so interesting about this monastery is that it was actually doubled as an inn back in the day for the many visitors of Bucharest. The monastery was built in the Wallachon Renaissance period, but you can clearly see the Greek influence on the church too. So the backyard of the church is actually filled with other crosses and engraved stones that are the very last existing bits of the many churches that were torn down during the communist era. It's always really interesting to visit places like this because you just feel like you're walking straight through history, and I'm learning so much about Romania today. This has to be one of the most famous places to eat here in Romania. It's called Caru cu Bere. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. This is the oldest brewery in Bucharest. Its name means the Beer Wagon, and it got its name from the fact that back in the days the beer used to be delivered in wagons, so when people arrived they were waiting impatiently, and the story goes that once they didn't want to wait any longer and ended up buying it directly from the wagon. This is the Cec Palace, and it's a very iconic building to visit here in Bucharest. It really gives Bucharest the name of the little Paris of the East because it was built in awe of the French style buildings. This is one of Bucharest's most Instagrammable spots. When I walked in there was quite a few people taking photos. So it used to be a bank, and now they've turned it into a bookshop with over 10,000 books and 6 floors. The building was originally a bank. However, after the communist regime ended, it was neglected, and in 2015 the great-grandson of the first owner invested in renovating this charming building. Now it's a part of the popular Carteresti chain. You can find some of their other bookstores around Bucharest too. This has to be the most prettiest bookshop that I've ever been to, but if you go to the 6th floor there's even a cafe upstairs, so you can just grab a coffee and watch everyone go book shopping. We are at the lovely Procedural Victory, and it's known for having hanging umbrellas everywhere, so it's just a cool little, it's not that much of a long street, but it's a nice little street to walk down. If you come here, you have to take in the cool little things that probably aren't a top attraction. It's always the small things that make my day, like this quirky little building with a red coloured rooftop, or this small alleyway that leads to someone's house. This city has seen it all, and I think to truly appreciate this place, you should spend some time wandering the streets. They are very walkable and have a sort of unique charm. After all this walking, we'd built up an appetite for some local food. Since we didn't know exactly where to go, we ended up back in the old town at a small, more affordable restaurant. There seems to be quite a lot of locals here, so that's always a good sign. And we've ordered, our first dish here is tripe soup, which is beef intestines. I've never had it before. I don't know what to expect, but I'm gonna give it a go. So, here we go. It smells very creamy. Nervous. What happened next was a series of us trying some cold food that lacked any flavour, which was completely surprising to us as we have only been hearing good things about the Romanian cuisine. This was our first experience trying food in this country, so it was a little unfortunate, but sometimes you have to take the bad with the good, and not every first experience can be amazing. Next time we venture out for a meal here, we hope to find a place that can give us an authentic taste for the food in Romania. Travel always surprises us, and despite the food, we enjoyed the ambience, and being surrounded by some of the locals always cheers us up. If you're a local and you're watching this video, please let us know what are your favourite Romanian restaurants. We're looking forward to trying this cuisine again. That sums up everything we could fit into one day in this charming city. If you wanted to see more of my Romania videos, make sure to click on my playlist above.
Oh no, I gave my heart away, went a bit too far.